Good evening, Matador family. Thank you all for tuning in to this fourth virtual town hall. I'm pleased to see that we have a pretty good participation this evening, so it is something that we will certainly continue in the coming weeks. I want to first start by thanking a few people. First, I want to thank and acknowledge our Associate Superintendent, Mr. Bill Lewis, who has done an excellent job in facilitating these meetings and facilitating the technology piece. I certainly appreciate his support on that. I also want to thank our Board of Trustees and acknowledge those who are in attendance for their continued support, especially during these very challenging times. They continue to support the students and the staff of Seguin ISD, and just recently allocated additional dollars to support additional technology for our students, which is going to be so important as we move forward. And as always, I certainly want to begin by just sharing a state of the district and community. As I've mentioned, I have an opportunity every Wednesday morning to meet with local officials from the county, local healthcare professionals, and other superintendents in the county. And this morning, I've received some encouraging news that things seem to be leveling off or plateauing somewhat in Guadalupe County, which really aligns with what I heard from the San Antonio mayor this morning in the Bexar County Superintendent Cluster Group. So it's not where we want to be, but it's better than where we have been. And there were different data sets that the county shared, and I'm going to get to that, but I am encouraged somewhat more today than I have been in previous weeks. As a school district, I know that the first town hall that you heard from me, I had shared that there were dozens of individuals who had tested positive and were quarantined. I can announce today that we have one employee who is currently quarantined, and keep in mind that as we get closer to the school year getting started, we have more employees returning to us as far as administrators, office staff. So I really do believe that our precautions are making a difference, not only in the district, but in our community. Our county officials really attribute the improvements to wearing masks and the mandate that has come down, and people not gathering in large crowds, keeping distance, and wearing masks in public places. And so that's going to be very important as we move forward. I know many of you are also passing by the stadium every day and are noticing the significant progress that is taking place. It is going to be a beautiful facility, and I can't thank the community enough for supporting that effort in making that dream a reality for our Matadors, both current and future. I am already proud of that facility. And so with that comes many questions about football games and how is it going to look? Are we all going to be able to attend? We're still waiting on specific guidance from UIL. They did send some guidance today. We need to keep in mind that the 1A through 4A school districts start their programs a month prior to ours. And they're currently stating that we can seat about 50% capacity as far as fans are concerned. I do anticipate changes would occur as school districts that are smaller than ours run into problems or issues. But as of now, right now, we are moving forward, and we are scheduled to have our first home football game on September the 25th at Matador Stadium. As many of you all know, those of you who are parents, we have kicked off registration for school. But the difference this year is that it's online. You can register for school utilizing your phone. And I've received some positive feedback from parents who have said it is just an easy, seamless process. We no longer have to fill out paperwork. We no longer have to wait in long lines, especially on those hot summer days where we've had instances where lines are around the school building. It's online. And so I wanted to share some information with parents regarding online registration that has already kicked off. And If you go to our website, you will run into the link that takes you to online registration. It's very important to know that there are two different routes to go. If you are a returning student or if you are a new student to Seguin ISD. Please make sure you carefully select the appropriate one. Now, there are four easy steps to register. One, as a returning user, a returning student, you log into your account utilizing the data that you already know. Number two, after you log in, you're going to be able to update your basic information. Number three, you're going to fill out registration forms. And then number four, you will have an opportunity to provide documentation that is needed. Please keep in mind that although you have up until the day school starts to register, which creates challenges for schools, especially during COVID, we are asking that parents register by August the 19th and select their preferred method of learning. We have two options. You learn face-to-face or you learn remotely at home. It is important that we have that data as soon as possible so that we can begin scheduling your child with a teacher so that we can begin building classes and are modifying our master schedule to be able to accommodate the number of students who are going to be coming to us face-to-face, as well as assigning teachers to teach virtually and assigning teachers to teach face-to-face. So please, please make that decision by August 19th. I understand that many of you are waiting. You're still in conversation with your child, with your family, or you're waiting on waiting to see if we make progress as far as the virus is concerned. As of noon today, we have had 1,000 students register for Seguin ISD. We have 7,200 students. This is a pretty low number than compared to what we're used to, but we expected this because we really felt that families were going to take their time making a decision. So we've had 1,000 complete registration. We've had 1,200 select the preferred learning option. So you might be wondering, how is that? That doesn't match up. Well, we've had 200 students whose parents have already selected a learning option, but they have not completed the registration process. As of today, we are looking at about 42% of our students selecting the remote learning option, and the highest grade levels looking at remote are kindergarten and sixth grade. That is about what we expected. The last survey a few weeks back indicated that about 50% of our parents were going to select face-to-face and 50% remote. Now, we can still accommodate with safe social distancing and such with 42%. Where we would begin to be concerned is that if we end up having 70% or so of our students select face-to-face, then we would have to regroup and really talk about the flexibility that the state has offered us for the first 4 weeks, and then determine which students could come. Because we truly feel that the distancing is important, in addition to the other safety precautions. There is also a helpline, and I am really glad to hear that people are calling for assistance, 830-401-8080, and the hours of operation are as followed. You can also call to make an appointment if you need help registering or you need technology. We will be more than glad to help you. And again, that deadline is the 19th of August. As I had stated before, that there were going to be changes that continue to occur. And we did have a change that occurred this week. Last week, I outlined the COVID symptoms that we look for, and there were just 4. And we were very concerned that several of them had been removed, but we were heeding the guidance from the Texas Education Agency. Well, I think they listened, and they updated the COVID symptoms that we are to look for. So as staff members, we have to self-screen before coming to work. Students, we are expecting that parents screen them before sending them to school. We will have thermal scanners that will scan large numbers of students. However, it is unreasonable to expect that we have the manpower to scan every student one by one, but the thermal scanners are proven to be effective, and we are looking forward to having that level of support. The COVID symptoms, again, are feeling feverish, loss of taste or smell. If you recall last week, that was removed. That is one of the main indicators. Cough, difficulty breathing, shortness of breath, fatigue, headache, chills, sore throat, congestion, runny nose, shaking, body aches, diarrhea, nausea, or vomiting. So those have been updated. We will, once we really feel that these are going to stick, we will have signage for folks to self-check before entering, staff and students and parents. And we are asking that parents also self-check their students prior to sending them. There was also another update that I want to talk about. We were concerned when they changed the standard for identifying close contact. The last update that I had provided identified close contact with an individual 6 feet or less for 15 minutes, regardless if you had a mask or not, which would mean that we would be sending people home left and right, possibly closing buildings, closing classrooms. However, that guidance is now more aligned with what the CDC has outlined, and I'm going to review that with you all real quick. It's rather thorough. So close contact with an individual who is lab confirmed to have COVID-19. The definition of close contact is evolving with our understanding of this virus, and individual scenarios need to be determined by an appropriate public health agency. So the guidance that we've received is that a public health agency should be assisting us with making those determinations. Now, we all know that it's unreasonable to expect that they're going to help guide us through every single one. They don't have the manpower. So we as a school district are going to have to become those public health experts. So what does close contact mean? A, being directly exposed to infectious secretions, for example, being coughed on would be one. The second one would be being within 6 feet for a cumulative duration of 15 minutes. However, additional factors come into play. There will be additional considerations before we make a determination whether someone has been in close contact. Were they wearing masks? Was one wearing a mask? Were both wearing a mask? Was there proper ventilation in that space? Was there a presence of dividers? We're looking at purchasing some dividers specifically for elementary kids, and then looking at case symptomology as well to make a determination. Now, either A or B defines close contact if it occurred during the infectious period of the case, defined as 2 days prior to the onset of symptoms to 10 days after the symptom onset. In the case of asymptomatic individuals who are lab confirmed with COVID, the infectious period is defined as 2 days prior to the confirming lab test and continuing for 10 days following the confirming lab test. So you're probably thinking, that seems a bit confusing. And all of those symptoms, how am I to keep track of that? Well, we will be updating our blueprint. Again, it is a fluid document that we're going to continue to update. I'm also going to share some additional updates with you all as well. So as I talked about identifying who needs to isolate, who's been in close contact, what are their symptoms, I know that many of you are wondering, okay, so then how is Seguin ISD going to make a determination as to whether they need to close a school or close the school district? Well, we have some challenges in Seguin. We don't have the luxury of having a county health department. So you can go down to Bexar County and San Antonio, and those school districts are going to have very clear guidance because they have great data to follow. We are limited in the data that we receive from Guadalupe County because we don't have a health department. So we are currently developing our own local plan to measure local conditions and school factors to determine school closure. There are 3 things we're going to look at specifically when it comes to what's happening locally in Seguin. positivity rate, doubling time, how long is it taking for cases to double, and making sure that there has been a 2-week decline before we increase capacity at a school. We will use a tool that will measure each day by color that will dictate the actions that we take as a school district, and everyone will see a color sign posted each morning. We want to be transparent with our staff, with our students, with our community, so that you are able to gauge where we are locally in the school district. So I've shared an example of what it'll look like for Seguin. Looking at a phase 1, which it'll be red, would mean that everyone is learning remotely and our facilities are closed. All the way to phase 5, which means we're back to 100%. Now, in Seguin, we could determine 3 levels, up to 5 levels, but I wanted to share an example of something that we are looking at developing for you and our staff and our students. Now, there are also other factors that come into play. So Seguin, or Guadalupe County, has averaged about 15% to 22% positivity rate over the summer, which is not a very good number. And then so when I tell you the positivity average right now, it's going to sound alarming. It's 33%. So that would likely dictate that we need to shut down. But what county officials have shared is that fewer people are being tested and fewer people have to be tested. Fewer are requesting tested because there are fewer people showing symptoms, experiencing symptoms. So we have fewer people testing, and the majority of people testing are those who really have symptoms. So although it is a 33% positivity rate, it's still overall, we're in a better position than where we were in June. So there's going to be a lot of factors into play. So we can't just say that Seguin ISD is going to look at positivity rate. Now, there could be factors that we're looking at. Could say, well, at Weinert, we've got this situation with 2 staff members, this situation with a student who's been exposed at home. Going to look at the individual campuses as well as the entire district. I'm switching because it's telling me mine's slowing down, so bear with me a minute. Okay, so please continue to monitor the blueprint for additional updates that are going to take place. Now I'm going to move into a service that we are going to be providing to our staff, something that I brought forward to my team during our leadership meeting on Monday, which we have coined the Employee Support Service. What this means is that we are going to offer what is essentially a child care service to teachers. Why is that important? Well, that is important because we are requiring that staff work in our facilities. Obviously, if you're teaching face-to-face, you're teaching in your classroom. If you are a virtual teacher, you're teaching in your classroom. Now, some of our staff have students in other districts in places where there is a higher rate. There's a reason to be even more concerned. There could be policies in place that you may not agree with. There's a district nearby us that is not requiring masks. And so if I were that child's parent, I would likely be concerned. So what we're going to offer is this service to our teachers, which I will get to here shortly. We're also going to have teachers who have pre-existing medical conditions, or in some instances, we may approve of them teaching or working remotely if they serve as caregivers. Again, it's may, and not every application will be approved because there are some positions that require you to work in our facilities. Some of our employees offer services to students that you cannot offer via a computer. We're going to identify spaces at our schools designated at identified campuses where a Seguin ISD employee will provide childcare to our teachers. So if you are a teacher and you need support with childcare, we will offer that type of support. We will have a designated space where your child can do their remote learning in a Seguin ISD school. Now we are only limiting that to kinder through 5th grade age children. We do not have the facilities or staff to accommodate bringing in toddlers and such. So I'm very proud of the support that I've been able to attain from our leadership team. So I'm going to go into some staff information that I want to share because it's also going to impact kids, because in the spring our experience is going to have looked very different than it's going to look like here in the fall. So what are the expectations? And I think it's important for parents to understand what the expectations are going to be for teachers. Teachers are going to continue to operate under the existing Seguin ISD policies and Texas Educator Code of Ethics. Teachers are going to dress professionally, whether you're teaching virtually or face-to-face. We're going to maintain a working environment and try to normalize this learning experience as much as possible. Teachers are still going to meet in teams. They may not be able to meet with large groups of others in a room, but they will meet virtually. We had a lot of success with that, with teachers meeting using Zoom or Google Meets to have team meetings. With academics, the Texas Education Agency recently adopted a new and paid for a new learning management platform. Unfortunately, that decision was just made last week, just weeks before school is starting. And in an effort to minimize the stress on our staff, we are not going to accept that offer at this time. We are going to continue with what we use, Google Classroom and Seesaw, and something that is familiar to everyone. We don't want to change courses just days before school starts. So we are going to stay with what is outlined in our plan. Secondary students may have other platforms such as Apex and Canvas. Our teachers are already planning for the learning that's going to take place. Our secondary teachers are planning the first 6 weeks of school, that curriculum, and our elementary teachers are planning the first 9 weeks. And we are going to be offering extensive training to our teachers in the area of technology. I also want to share, before I get into this, that we are going to be purchasing these Gator Masks for our staff and our students. So your child will receive a Gator mask that is going to look similar to this. We're thinking that it's going to be black with our logo, the S with the swords. So we will supply every single student a Gator mask. These seem to be more comfortable than the others. In fact, I feel like it's a little bit more breathable and easier to wear in the summer. And so I'm hoping that that our students are excited about these because they are going to have our logo. So I did want to share that we are going to be purchasing those for all of our students and staff. Can someone confirm that I'm not frozen?
I still see you moving.
Okay, thank you. I got a text that I was frozen from my mom. I'm really excited, and if you've been following the local media, you are already aware. I'm thrilled about this. I'm really thrilled about the opportunity that we're going to afford our students, especially as we experience this pandemic and as many families are struggling, and many families who may not qualify for free or reduced lunches. There are still families struggling, and just because someone doesn't qualify doesn't mean that this is not a burden. So we have, for several years, we have looked into this, and we are finally at a place to be able to make this happen. I want to give a shout out to our child nutrition team, our business department, for partnering up to make this happen. A shout out to our board of trustees who have supported us along the way as well. The United States and Texas Departments of Agriculture, both the USDA and TDA, offer what's called the CEP, or Community Eligibility Program, to provide free breakfast and lunches to students. The CEP utilizes information from assistance programs to determine the number of students that are automatically eligible to receive free meals. The Department of Ag then applies the multiplier to calculate the level of qualified participants at each campus, and we qualify. So very excited again to announce that the meal prices at all of our elementaries, middle schools, and Sagert are free for all students, pre-K through 5, and then at Sagert, all levels. That means breakfast is free and lunch is free. Our students no longer have to worry about that. No more charging accounts at all. We will still offer a la carte items once we get through this pandemic. That's going to be difficult, so we're going to have to be creative. At the high school, what is lunch and breakfast going to look like at the high school? Well, we have free reduced 30 cents at the high school breakfast, $1.70 breakfast at the high school. For lunch, free 40 cents reduced and $3 paid. Why are we not doing this at the high school yet? Well, it took a lot of effort to get to this point, and we feel confident that in the 21-22 school year, we can say that Seguin ISD offers free meals to every student. And so I am certainly excited about that possibility. So I know for those of you who are high school parents or will be, we are certainly intending on going through this process for high school. However, this year we are only looking at eligibility for the elementaries, Ball, middle schools, and Sagert. Before I close up, I want to speak to our audience who have students in special education. We've received a lot of specific questions about students with specific needs. So I'm really proud to announce that we will be doing a special education town hall on August the 20th at 5 o'clock. I will be hosting that with our Director of Special Education, Halsey Dean Martin, on that evening at 5 o'clock. And we are looking forward to answering many of your specific questions during that time. We feel that because those needs from those students that we serve with a wide variety of needs, many students who are medically fragile, that we really need to dedicate a town hall to be able to outline what our plans are for special education, and to be able to offer an opportunity for parents to ask questions. So mark your calendars, August 20th, 5 to 5:30. We will also be, there could be a possibility that we move that up to 5:30 to accommodate parents, but I have an obligation right now that I'm planning for, but that could change. I do apologize. There is not enough time to take questions, but if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat. We are compiling a Q&A document that we will be posting very soon. Thank you all so much for tuning in and your continued support. Keep in mind that we are Seguin Strong. Thank you.